Seeing that I'm not doing Pony-a-thon anymore, for good reasons, I had trouble trying to find another show to review. Then I thought about another show that has been popping up everywhere, that being RWBY. Unlike the previous shows that I covered, which were fan films and a television show, this was a web series. But like the ones I reviewed before, it has become an international phenomenon, and has also inspired a whole generation of animators, writers, and voice actors alike. Now seeing this is an anime series, meaning that there are some episodes that are interconnected, I'm going to be reviewing these volume by volume. And seeing that I have a now busy schedule, reviews are going to come out on their own time. Now as always, this is my personal opinion. If you love or hate any of these volumes, that's okay. Now without further ado, let's start the series RWBY-a-thon. Let's talk about the first volume. But before I start the review, let me tell you about literally the first thing we were introduced to. That being the trailers. Oh, what, they showed us clips of some of the episodes? Well, no. They were more like mini movies. One showed a girl in a red hood fighting these black monsters with a scythe gun. One showed a girl singing while fighting a gigantic suit of armor. Another showed a girl with a bow and some guy with a katana hijacking a train while fighting robots. But my favorite one is the last trailer where this blonde girl goes into a nightclub and beats the living shit out of everyone inside. Each trailer ends with the title of the show being spelled out with the colors red, white, black, and yellow. The reaction was that it was like nothing they've seen before, completely new. People got more excited when they saw the one developing the show was Monty Ohm, who is known for doing well choreographed animated action scenes on a very low budget. So did this meet everyone's expectations? Well, let's start with the story. We start with a narrative backstory that explains that mankind was born from dusts, but they were being terrorized by monsters known as the Grimm. Thankfully, mankind grew resourceful and managed to build weapons and kingdoms thanks to an element called dust. Yeah, you can't get more obvious than that. Cut to present day, and we see a dust shop being robbed by a bunch of thugs led by a man named Torchwick. But their plans are thwarted by a girl in a red hood named Ruby Rose. No, not that Ruby Rose, who basically fights them and sends Torchwick on the run. She is caught by the authorities, who are unpleased with her reckless actions. But her actions caught the attention of Professor Ozpin. Ruby explains that she wants to be a huntsman, warriors who fight monsters and villains in order to help people. It is revealed that Ozpin is the headmaster of Beacon Academy, a school that teaches teenagers to be future huntsmen and huntresses. And just like Harry Potter, she's enrolled at Beacon Academy. But Ruby feels she's overwhelmed, she's being put in too early. But her big sister, Yang Xiaolong, assures her that everything's gonna be okay. And just like Harry Potter, do you see a pattern? She meets a couple of colorful characters that would later become her teammates / allies. And you know the drill. They go to their classes, they get along, overcome the bullies, and fight all kinds of evildoers and monsters. When watching this volume, I couldn't help but compare it to the Harry Potter franchise, since both are about characters going to a school in a fantasy setting, which was a trend we've seen a million times, especially in recent years. But I think the one that is nearly similar to RWBY is Winx Club. Since both shows have almost all female cast, a world that has a fantasy sci-fi mixed, some characters have similar designs, both start off with our main character thrown into the action, having the girls have their own special abilities, and the primary antagonist is hidden in shadows. But in my opinion, RWBY has enough material to make it stand out more. For one, the huntsmen are in the public eye, rather than kept a secret, like in the other shows I mentioned. This might not be as important, but it is refreshing to see a teen fantasy that doesn't need to have the keep this a secret trope, which is not flying very well with parents nowadays. RWBY is quirky and childish at times, but has a passionate drive to help other people. Yang's a fan favorite. She's an outgoing girl who just fights for the thrill of it. Weiss is an heiress with a bratty attitude. In a normal teen/tween movie, she would be the straight-up villain that always antagonizes the main heroine. But here, she's one of the main characters, which leads to a very good lesson about making the best of things even when it doesn't go your way. But she does have her devious yet comical moments.
This will be perfect. The smartest girl in class combined with the strongest girl in class. Together we will be unstoppable. I can see it now. We'll be popular. We'll be celebrities. We'll get perfect grades. Nothing could come between us now.
Blake is blunt, mellow, and honest, and in my opinion, has one of the strongest arcs in the series. Now, without giving too much away, but I bet a lot of you already know, there is a little bit of a twist with this character, and it does lead to the theme of tolerance and racism. But the way they handle it is very adult and, lack of a better term, ballsy. We see both sides of the argument, and both sides are justified, even if it's morally gray. The rest of the characters are enjoyable too. They might seem one note at first, but there's so much likability to them, you don't really care. One of my favorites is this girl named Nora, who kind of reminds me of Pinkie Pie, if she was a lot more violent.
Ooh! We'll break his legs!
She's made even funnier because she's always paired with this boy named Ren, who is straight-faced and calm, and unlike most pairings, he's okay with Nora's antics.
Poor boy. I can't possibly imagine those two getting along.
The teachers are insanely enjoyable, like this one who is full of himself.
But first, a story. A tale of a young, handsome man. Me.
And another who is just kind of insane.
Mr. Art, finally contributing to class. This is excellent, excellent.
Okay, let's talk about the one thing everybody wants me to talk about. The action scenes. What else can I say that hasn't been said before? They're acrobatic, they're energized, they're creative, and they're easy to see. For those of you who doubt this show, watch this. That is f***ing awesome! Nitpick, I think the animation's kinda hit and miss. Sometimes it looks halfway decent, while other times it kinda looks glitchy. Like some of the characters look like they're walking on air instead of solid ground. This also goes for the character design. I mean, a lot of them look great, while some I think kinda look too similar. Like Sun kinda looks like John, Penny kinda looks like Nora, and the background characters are black. And no, I don't mean that they're African, I mean that they are literally black. They look like 3D versions of Mr. Game & Watch. The audio can get glitchy too, like the music can be louder than the dialogue. I had to turn up the volume on my TV or use subtitles to hear what they were saying. This can be very distracting to some viewers. The climax is kinda underwhelming, but don't get me wrong, there's still some good action sprinkled throughout. But compared to the battle we've seen previously in the volume, it's kinda standard. Outside of that, I think RWBY Volume 1 is a good way to start off the series. There's plenty of stuff for kids and plenty of stuff for adults. Though there are flaws, but that should not deter you from watching the volume. I highly recommend this volume. But this is only the first volume in the series to come.